Just over a month ago, Wridz paused operations here in Minnesota. And unfortunately, it wasn't a surprise. Let's discuss. So Wridz had been operating here for just about a year and a half, and for those of you that watched my update video a couple of months ago, you know that things hadn't been going great. And when they paused operations, I personally hadn't given a ride for them in over a year. On the Mondays and Tuesdays that I drive, I would go 6 straight hours without receiving a request on rides. I would stay logged in online on rides, even while giving rides with both Uber and Lyft, and still wouldn't receive a request. So unfortunately, rides had become a total afterthought to me. Then at the end of August, a local driver reached out to me, letting me know that they were pausing operations here in Minnesota. And this was just a month after I posted my update video on my first year experience with Wridz. And I heard from that local driver, and I also reached out to Steve Wright, the CEO of Wridz. Apparently the city permit fees were far too expensive to justify continuing operations here, and they decided to concentrate their resources elsewhere. I had heard this in the past too about these city permit fees. It's another way for Uber and Lyft to control markets. These fees are so expensive that smaller players can't even enter markets, or in Wridz's case, they can't even operate long term. So Wridz's official operations are paused here, but Wridz is still operating in 11 other states and also have pending operations in 11 more. So I'm assuming that they're showing that they can coexist with Uber and Lyft in those other markets that they have been operating in. Again, last year when Uber and Lyft were threatening to leave Minnesota over our legislative battle for higher rates, Wridz made Minnesota a top priority because there was a possibility that there would be a void to fill. But a week after they launched operations here, Uber and Lyft struck a deal with Minnesota agreeing on higher rates. So again, there would be no void to fill, and Wridz would have to compete directly with Uber and Lyft. But again, Wridz has operations in 11 other states currently, and I think the expedited launch here in Minnesota wasn't ideal for them. And if Uber and Lyft hadn't been threatening to leave Minnesota, I don't think Minnesota would have been a priority market for Wridz. And if and when Wridz rolled out to Minnesota, it would have been slower with a more developed plan. And also going forward, not only are these newer companies going to have to compete with Uber and Lyft, they're going to have to compete with autonomous fleets like Waymo. Case in point, Wridze, which launched in San Francisco last year, they just let drivers know this week that they would be ceasing operations. So it makes it that much more difficult to compete going forward. These newer companies need to be well funded with a long-term plan in each market that they enter. Again, competition is great and it benefits all of us, both riders and drivers. But rideshare is a very competitive industry and it's basically owned by 2 major players. But what about those of you in states where Wridz is still currently operating? What about you drivers in Texas where Wridz has been operating the longest? How is your experience? Again, I am thankful to Wridz for entering our market and creating competition, but pausing operations after just 1 year shows how difficult it is to compete with Uber and Lyft. If you've yet to download the Solo app to help you manage your rideshare business and earn more, our referral link is in the description. We also have a free newsletter, and the link to sign up for that is in the description as well. If you've yet to watch my previous video on the new upfront info that Lyft is providing, be sure to check that one out. Thanks again for watching and drive safe. Thanks.